All right. So, hello everyone. It is the How Money Works Masterclass, and we're excited to bring you today the opportunity to learn a little bit more about what's going on with your money, going on in the world right now. As we know, it's a little bit crazy out there, but we have some great all-stars on this webinar today, and excited to share with you those all-stars, as well as myself, share with you a little bit about how money works to stop being a sucker. And that can be harsh at sometimes. That can be harsh. The ability to not be a sucker in this money game is an interesting dynamic. But, you know, this master class, we're going to give you an introduction today, especially because of the highlighted people that we have on today and some of the discussion points that you're going to be hearing today. But there is a master class that you can go through, and I'm going to share with you some highlights today. But as your host, my name is John Andrade. I'm with the How Money Works company. My personal brand is Go for CEO, and that's just a mindset behind the 4 attributes of becoming a CEO. I've been a CEO in the telecommunications space and the automotive space, and now over the last few years in the financial space, and trying to build a great momentum to education. So I joined the How Money Works movement about 2-3 years ago, and I really have seen a lot of great things happen in the education of how money works. In fact, tonight, if you could last the whole way through the webinar, we are looking to get you this thin, not too big, but thin, beautiful book, some incredible concepts in here, some foundational things that I think you'll learn. And look, it's on us. We want to send you the book, the How Money Works book, because we care about you, and we hope that you'll share this with the people that you know. And maybe even right now, you're thinking, how do I get my uncle, my nephew, my brother, my sister, my mom on this? How do I get a coworker on this? Well, hopefully the link that you have on your email, you can quickly grab that and share that maybe in a text and allow some people to come on with you. So I am excited to share that with you today. Let me get started here with one of the slides that I want to share with you. You know, it's kind of interesting, right? The authors of this is you know, Tom Matthews and one of the authors, and Steve Siebold. You know, Steve Siebold is a world-renowned speaker. He's been talking about money for many, many years, from the elite to the rich, and how they raise their kids, and the 177 mental attributes of the mentally tough. But they decided to put sucker in this because, you know, you want to think like the wealthy, not like the suckers, right? So that is a big, big deal. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. It's morally wrong to let a sucker keep his money, right? So that's what we're up against. That's the mindset of a lot of the people in the financial world, that they want to keep you down because they're not sharing with you the real knowledge of money. And there's a lot of different areas of money, which we're going to have some highlighted people today, some incredible people we're going to be speaking tonight. But that is the reality, is we remain suckers as they become wealthy. And that's one thing we don't want to do. So here's the last thing I'll share with you before I introduce our very first speaker. But the word sucker is a strong word. And yes, it is. But can you imagine if you knew how money works and you wouldn't allow that it sucks up your time, it sucks up your freedom, and it sucks up your income? If the word sucks couldn't be those 3, imagine the things that you could do to become either stronger financially, you know, wealthier in your means, and understand how to make money work for you. So that's the exciting part. I'm taking 2 or 3 minutes here to introduce myself and introduce the opportunities that are going to be taught today. So next up, and I'm going to stop this screen share because that's kind of this part that we're going to go in. We're going to come back right now to our main screen, and I hope you guys are all enjoying this right now, even the beginning start of it. Our first panelist here is Nick Liebert. He's the owner of Exit Strategy Realty in Chicago, and I know he has some offices around the country, and He's been a part of that organization for a long time. I won't steal his thunder, but he's become a great friend of mine. On LinkedIn, we met, and then we got to meet, face to face, and we're doing some great things together. So we're excited tonight to have Nick Liebert from EXIT Strategy Realty to teach you a little bit about what's going on in the real estate market. Nick, how are you?
I'm doing good, John. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you hosting this for Exit agents, Exit clients, and your audience as well. John, for those of you guys that are in the audience, John got me this book or sent me this book a while ago, and it was a good reminder to me of what what we're about at Exit, what we're trying to do to educate consumers, and especially in this kind of scary time right now, where there's so many things up in the air. I wanted to remind people that, your overall financial plan has to include real estate. And, I know John's going to have some other information for you as well, but, you can see, I know it's probably reversed, but in the background, I have my income tracking board for my businesses. I'm very passionate about multiple income streams, making sure that people don't just rely on their primary job, because as all of us know, right now, there are some things that are changing in the world. I'm concerned about what's going to happen October 1st when all these businesses that took PPP money, and of course, with that payroll protection plan money, they couldn't lay anyone off until October. Well, October's right around the corner. So we know that there are going to be more layoffs. There's going to be some more upsetment in the job market, in the employment field. So we want you to think, while everybody's got their job and the economy seems to be somewhat stable, to think beyond the stock market and to really educate yourself on your overall financial picture. Because if you can go beyond just paying rent into a mortgage, that gives you what I call mattress money. And what mattress money is, when you own your own home, you are actually out there every day and every night, and that's why I call it mattress money. You're sleeping on part of your retirement, on part of your legacy that you can leave your family, that you are protecting yourself against all the other things going on in the world when you own a piece of real estate that you live in. But beyond that, I wanted to stress to you that this is a time to be thinking not just about mattress money, but mailbox money. So for those of you guys that listen to this now or see the recording later, if you've already got a primary residence, that doesn't mean you're done. That actually means you've just started your real estate journey. To think about buying a condo or a single family home, or better yet, a multi-unit building, to protect against inflation, to protect against only having one source of income, protect against only having money in the stock market. That is a huge potential. And why I call it mailbox money for that second piece of property and third piece of property and on beyond your primary residence, or that mattress money. The mailbox money is the checks you get in every month, or now these days Venmos and Quick Pays, from your tenants. So it's a way to protect against having all your eggs in one basket. It's a way to leverage, because as John's going to talk to you about, 401ks, SEP IRAs, all that kind of stuff is amazing because of the tax benefits. But when you buy a investment property, you're using other people's money, or OPM as they call it, to basically finance the majority of the deal. And what we're finding right now is, with these interest rates at record lows, you are actually able to cash flow on a significant amount of the properties on the market. For those of you guys that are wondering, what's my crystal ball? I'm not always right. I don't have a crystal ball, but I will tell you that what I'm seeing, what I'm hearing from the economists that I talk to, the industry experts that I talk to, we are going to see a market shift, and it's going to be directly related to how quickly we get out of COVID or not. How severe are these next round of job cuts? What goes on with the election? So we know that interest rates are going to stay low until at least midway through next year, which is going to be wonderful. What we don't know is, will prices start to drop if chaos continues to ensue or grow, in terms of the job market, in terms of finances and COVID. So what I think is going to happen this fall, and we're already starting to see it, inventory is starting to go up in many markets. We're also seeing that prices are starting to drop on units and properties that did not sell during these hot summer months. If you guys follow me on social media, I've been talking about July was my best month ever in 22 years. And I sold all these properties and that's great. But that market, this hot summer market where everybody was out of COVID a little bit and able to go back out and look at houses and they felt confident in their job, we are seeing that market shift. And we think there are going to be some price drops, some significant price reductions, some potential appraisal issues. So if you're a seller, I'd recommend you get your property on the market ASAP before anything further happens. If you're a buyer, I would recommend you start looking at properties now and get your financing in order, but then also consider watching those price drops and see who is really desperate to sell in the coming months. So there's some huge opportunity, but there's obviously also the question of what is the financial market going to look like? What is the job market going to look like? What's COVID going to look like over the next couple months? But for those of us looking to expand our real estate portfolio, I've been an investor, a flipper. I've worn many hats in the real estate industry. I'm sitting here going, this fall may be a time to strike where there are some significant price drops. The interest rates are still low and the job market is somewhat stable, at least for the time being. So you have any questions about real estate, I'm here to help. I will tell you one other thing that I'm really tracking right now is house hacking. For those of you that haven't bought a primary residence or are trying to get a better one or a bigger one, consider house hacking. What house hacking is that is when you go and you buy a multi-unit building as your primary residence. You live in one unit and you let the tenants pay the rent, and that rent covers your mortgage, if not even allows you to cash flow. What I love about house hacking is that you are able to get a property with 3%, 3.5%, 5% down because it's your primary residence versus 20% plus down on an investment property. And you're going to be there on site because you're you don't need a manager because you're there. You're walking up and down the stairs. You see the building every day. You're going to take care of it like it's your own because you are living there. And the significant amount of the ROI or rate of return on that type of investment is massive, because when you're putting that little down and yet you have this fantastic cash flow property, it makes a significant difference in your return on investment. So there are many ways to make money in real estate right now. You just have to put the proper steps in order. And John, if you want to give me just a couple more seconds here, I will tell you also, don't pay your credit cards completely off. That's something that some of my clients are doing right now just to quickly get out of debt. I love that you're paying them down, but consider keeping a balance of less than 20% on your credit cards. That shows lenders and the credit bureaus that you are able to handle credit, but that you are using credit versus just paying them off entirely. So debt is bad. Trust me, debt is bad. But consider paying down your credit cards, but not paying them all the way off so that you can handle credit responsibly. There's a lot of other tips for getting your credit score up that I can show you, I can talk to you about, I can refer you to credit repair agencies. Don't sit there and think that you can't buy because you've got a credit score that needs some help. If you are newer in your job, we can probably find a lender that can work with you. There's all different kinds of programs out there, grant programs, low money down programs. You just have to get the conversation started with me, and I'm happy to help. I'm doing this a long time, both for myself and for hundreds and hundreds of past clients. So have a lot of the other agents at Exit. Sorry about that, guys. Just somebody was calling me there. So I'm here to help. If you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box. And John, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be with you guys tonight.
Awesome, Nick. Hey, we've been starting to do these things over the last few months and excited to have you on. I wanted to read an excerpt from the book, and all of you guys attending this webinar, just make it till the end, okay? Just listen up till the end. This is fruitful information, great information, and we will be sending you a book. All right, so here's an excerpt from the book. It says, "How the Sucker Thinks. I know saving is important, but now is just not the good time for me to deal with it. How the Wealthy Think. Here's the deal. Time is money. Every day counts. Building my financial future starts now." So, Nick, in this craziness of what we're going on, and I know there's a lot of people suffering, a lot of people really, worried about some things, okay? We're hopefully shining the light of freedom, of opportunity, of thinking bigger. What could you say to someone that wants to wait a little bit with real estate compared to acting now?
So, waiting a little bit, hoping that prices go down. The danger is if the prices go down and yet interest rates go up, that is a direct disconnect in terms of affordability. If prices go down, but yet the lenders and the banks stop lending like they did in 2008, 9, and 10, you're not going to be able to get a property. So at least start the conversation with me now. Let's get the proper steps in order. Your Exit Realty agent can send you our app so that you can start browsing property, get in touch with the right lenders. Maybe it isn't yet the time to buy for you, but if you don't have your ducks in a row, so to speak, you can't even begin the process, and you want to be ready. You want to be ready for that process. And again, my clients that are buying now are seeing significant cash flow because of the interest rates being so low. They're not waiting. They are striking while the iron is hot, and they are going to continue to do so. So get your ducks in a row. Start talking to your Exit Realty agent now.
Awesome, Nick. Well, hey, thank you so much. I know that you're going to stick around if there's any questions, and I'll be checking the chat room. But everybody, what an incredible information. Take down some notes. Hopefully you had a notebook and you took down some notes. Exit Strategy Realty will get you the information. If you could, Nick, share just your phone number, your best phone number, and I know that you have a great Calendly to get on your calendar. Can you share those two things before we introduce our next host?
Absolutely. So my cell phone number is 312-493-0920. Again, that's 312-493-0920. You can always get on my calendar. Just go to nickliebert.com and you can schedule some time with me there. And then we will be seeing any of you guys on here that are realtors. We're going to be talking to realtors next week, specifically about what you can do to start building for retirement beyond just real estate. So John and I have a lot more for you guys.
Awesome. And hey, look, this book is exciting because it's thin. You can read it quickly. How long did it take you, Nick?
Like under a day. Right. I just sat there and read, and it's a great read. Even if you think you know finances, this is the type of the book that reminds you, okay, for example, for me, I'm sitting here going, you know what? I really need to work on my SEP IRA as an independent contractor. I've got multiple income streams, but they're not always in the smartest tax deductible investments. And that was a wake-up call for me. So it's a wonderful book for everybody, especially when it's free.
And you mean you wanted to somehow legally avoid Uncle Sam?
Legally, yes, legally. I don't look good in orange, so I'm not trying to get in trouble.
That's right. That's right. Well, hey, thank you so much. I know you'll stick around for some questions, and I'll check out the chat room. But up next, we've gone from sharing with you a little bit about real estate, kind of sharing with you a little bit about how money works and what's going on with our movement and what we're doing to really educate people. And look, we're not biased here. If you have a way that you want to make things happen, we can really help you and educate you. And between the three of us and the gentleman that I'm about to share with you, a good friend for 20 years, Kim Rasmussen, has been in the financial industry for a long, long time. Even though he looks like he's about 12 now that he actually, can grow some hair on the face, right? But, I joke around with him because he's a great guy. He's a sincere guy. And you're going to see the way that he speaks to you is not speaking to you as if you don't know things and speaking down to you. He speaks up to you and shares with you the wisdom of what's going on in his 20 years experience. So excited to have Kim Rasmussen on to share with you a little bit about more of the money management side and how to understand that piece of the puzzle. So Kim, take it away.
All right. Thank you, John. Appreciate that introduction. We have known each other for quite some time, going back, 20 years. This is actually my third crises, so to speak, in financial services. We had the early 2000s, 08, and then now this 2020 pandemic. So a lot of things that I've kind of been blessed and cursed to live through, but I've learned a lot, as many of us have. But I wanted to, my role tonight is just to share a little bit on the market side of things as far as stock market investing that way. I really appreciate all Nick's comments there and John's as well, as and looking at everything is kind of like a holistic picture. There's really four places people can keep money. There's the banks, there's real estate, there's the stock market, and then there's also with insurance companies. I think the key is to have a little bit of money everywhere, and I would say a prescribed amount in those different areas. And I think Nick illustrated some great points: mattress money, mailbox money, I think there's a big opportunity right now with a crisis. Oftentimes you find opportunity, especially if you're able to take advantage of it. So like Nick said, get your ducks in a row with your credit, get your emergency fund up so you can, not just for emergencies, but for opportunities as well with him perhaps. But you know, the best way to be in real estate is to be solid all around everything you own. So if you're gonna be in the market and investing, I think there's a couple ways to go about it, but I think the most common way people do it, in an effort to fix the math in investing, I think there's a few things you have to know, but most people get into the stock market and mutual funds and that investment world oftentimes through their 401k as their primary, I guess, tool or vehicle that they use for retirement especially, where it's mostly a buy and hold scenario. And what we've learned since 2000 and these, you know, the different crashes and challenges throughout these past 2 decades, is that really buy and hold might be more aptly named buy and hope. Because you're really, if you're doing that strategy, you're just riding the roller coaster. You're 100% invested at all times. And what happens is 76% of the times that the average investor anyway is basically chasing the market, trying to get back to even, which I don't think is a way to win. And I think that can obviously scare people out of the market. And it's also a reason to complement your market investing with real estate, because sometimes real estate's up, sometimes the market's up. Why not be in both at the same time? And it'll serve you better. But if you, for those dollars that are important to you and are in the market, I think there's an important concept called active money management that I think behoove you to become more aware of. It basically allows you to partake in a management style that's more tactical in nature. It's trend based. They follow trends and using quantitative models. That all sounds pretty complicated, probably. I know it was to me when that sounded just like another language, right? But all that means is if you're going to be in the market, you can actually work with somebody like myself that has access to professional third-party money managers that can basically put an eye on your money every day and use their resources, millions of dollars, a full staff, to identify opportunity and try to foresee dangers lying ahead so that we can mitigate how far down your portfolio goes. You know, it took the last 11 years, we hadn't had anything bad happen in the market. And I think we almost forgot, maybe took for granted how smooth of a ride we've been having. And then all of a sudden, welcome to 2020, right? And so it's been a bumpy ride, but for those clients and those people engaged in active money management were able to maybe get out of the market at an appropriate time and back in for the recovery, kind of having a professional identify when to sell at the top and when to buy in toward the bottom. Nobody will ever get it right. But again, if you can get somebody on your side to help you, normally that's been something that's been relegated for the very wealthy. And just by accident of birth and finding the right opportunity, I've been able to align myself with managers that have lowered their barriers to where rather than having maybe $500 or $1 million needed to get across that threshold into that style of management, the barrier has been brought down to 25,000 in many cases. And even 1 out of 5 of you on the call may be working for a big company or with a 401k plan that actually allows for something we call a personal choice retirement account, where you can actually break money out of the traditional allocation inside your 401k, still in the plan, no rollovers, nothing transfers out, but you're able to separate some of those dollars and invite in to overlay a third-party money manager, like I was mentioning. So, but I think the key is to kind of, if we can fix the math by diversifying ourselves, not just allocation, the way it's normally taught, but also asset location. Utilize active money management and real estate and insurance companies when appropriate, and banking instruments, and get that holistic picture. I think that's the key. And 2020 has been a heck of a reminder of what can happen. And I don't know what 2021 will look like. It could be more of the same. It could be better. It could also be worse. But that doesn't mean it's not appropriate to be invested or in whatever capacity. So that my 2 cents.
What an incredible 2 cents. Hey, thank you so much, Kim. And I hope everybody's really enjoying this, you know, maybe writing down some great notes. And if you stick around, remember what we said, we'll be getting this book out to you. But let me read another excerpt from the How Money Works, Stop Being a Sucker. So, Kim, I'm gonna ask you a question, so don't go away too soon. So, Suckers, there's an excerpt here that says, suckers don't ask these kinds of questions. They're not even really aware that to grow their money, at some point, it has to double. Now, we all know, hey, our favorite banks, the bank accounts called savings accounts, are incredibly paying some enormous interest rates. It's like 0.009. So can you tell us a little bit about doubling your money, and maybe a cool rule out there that a lot of people may not have heard of, even if they went to a 4-year degree, and maybe even if they got their master's or PhD?
Sure. No, yeah, and you're alluding to the rule of 72, which I'm sure Nick's probably familiar with as well. But you want your money working for you, guys. That's the whole goal, right? If you look at inflation, if you look at taxes, if you're not having your money grow at least 5%, it doesn't matter where it is. Real estate investing doesn't matter. You just need that money working for you, so that you can, once you factor in inflation, factor in taxes, you're ahead of the game and not slowly losing money. A lot of people run from investment opportunities to find safety, or what they think is safety, but really it's just losing slowly, right? It's almost like, you could die from a terminal illness that you suffer through for a decade, or you could die in a car accident. Either way, both are not very positive, right? We want to live and prosper, and we got to do the same for our money. So with John, it's actually crazy that so much money, there's over $10 trillion sitting in cash, equivalents, earning less than 1%. Actually, the average is about 0.09, which if you take the rule of 72, it's a simple mental math shortcut. You can actually find it on my website. I'll put it in the chat. But wealthwave.com/Kim Rasmussen. I'll put that in my contact info. But there's a 4-minute video about the rule of 72. But if you get 1% on your money and you divide 1 into 72, it tells you it's 72 years for your money to double. If you get 0.09% on your money, it takes 800 years for your money to double. Imagine putting $1,000 in your savings account, or maybe you have too much in savings, right? And maybe 100 grand just sitting there for no real reason other than it's safe. It'll be the year 2820 before that 100,000 turns to 200,000. That long for $1 to turn to 2. An entire 32 generations, I think it is, versus how fast the banks have their money doubling, right? So we got to fix the math in that. But good point, John.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much, Kim. And what we're going to do next is a little bit of a panel scenario. So I want to bring Nick back on. And guys, let me share my screen here real quick so you guys see it again. And then we'll bring in the panelists again. But look, and I'm going to give you a quick preview. Usually this is called a masterclass. So we kind of go through everything and we really go a little bit deeper than today. But I'll challenge you to, I'll put it in the chat as well, my website, howmoneyworks.com/John Andrade. And I'm encouraging Nick as well to put it in there on the chat, his website. So we got 3 people here that really care about your future, care about understanding how you're working. And look, ultimately, it doesn't start with anything else but a conversation, right? If somebody's peddling an actual product to you, saying to you specifically that you need this, please run away as fast as possible. And I know that Kim and Nick would agree with me that, there isn't one solve for every issue, but there is an issue to be solved. So what we think about, we bring about. I always like to share that. The reality is, largely dependent on how you think about money. There's a parable, right, in the Bible, and not to get religious here, but it talks about the love of money is what's evil, not actual money, right? So we teach about money and those things, and we move forward with those. So I'll kind of go through these things and then we'll do a quick panel interview. So financial literacy is one of the things that we talked about, the power of compound interest, when you just talked about with the rule of 72. We even have a cool thing for you grandparents, for you parents, for the people having babies in general, called the $1 million baby scenario. It's incredible. I've got a 1-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 6-year-old, all girls. Please pray for me, please. All girls. I'm a father of 3 girls, and the $1 million baby, when that concept came out, I was blown away. And I've been in the money world for a while now, but it really kind of took me to a next level, because if maybe my parents or my grandparents would have known about this strategy, the $1 Million Baby strategy, gosh, things might have been a little bit different, And I'm glad that I'm working my butt off and we're in America and we have a great opportunity. But there is something to be said about leaving a legacy in the right way. So, and the last thing is the time value of money. So I'm going to bring my colleagues back up. Guys, I'm going to check out the chat here. So nickliber.com. All right, good. Anybody that is attending right now, please feel free to put in the chat any type of questions. But let me ask you, Nick, when we think about real estate and think about how we want to strategize a portfolio side, not just where we live, but a portfolio and the guidance that you've been able to share. I know you were on a great actual TV show recently in the last few months. They aired and we saw some of the stumbles, and you're humble enough to share that you learned a lot from it. But what is something that someone that maybe doesn't have $100,000, $200,000, $300,000, but that they can do effectively in the real estate market to be a part of the building of a portfolio?
Well, a couple different things is you never want to bite off more you can chew. I'm notorious for that. There's no such thing as easy money, period, in anything. And like John said, if somebody's trying to sell you something, an education system, etc., run. All my coaching, all my training is free. A lot of it for real estate agents focuses on what I did wrong as a realtor before I learned how to do it right through some great coaches, and trial by error on the investor side too. But I tell you this much, don't bite off more than you can chew, and buy in places that you understand and that you feel comfortable with. A lot of people, they race to an area that they think is cheap or that, they think is going to have the best appreciation. The bottom line is you buy right and the numbers work, most areas will appreciate. Now, there's certainly some areas that may have bigger growth than others, but you want to keep your properties where you can drive to them and see them. A lot of people have gotten into these things where, I bought something 3 hours away, but then I don't drive by and see it at all. And that was something that I did, was I bought stuff 45 minutes away from my house. At the end of the day, I work long hours in real estate. I didn't want to go drive another 45 minutes each direction. And sure enough, then I'm sitting there getting taken advantage of by contractors. I'm not in touch with my property. So buy something in a place you understand and you're comfortable with and have the time to go to regularly. Buy things one at a time. This idea of buying things in bulk or rushing to buy a bunch of stuff, buy things one at a time, and be very careful about flipping. I would say this much. I'm not sure if this is a market for flipping. I think this is a market for buy and hold, because we don't know what's coming down the road in terms of finances, employment, sickness, etc. So this is a wonderful time to be doing buy and hold, because this is the time where those interest rates are so low that you can cash flow on almost anything. And the market for flipping may not be a market you make a profit in right now. And a lot of people buy flips only to flip them. They never consider buy and hold. So from experience, I tell you, make sure you've got enough money to renovate the property if you're going to flip it, but then also have a buy and hold strategy, because we don't know where this real estate market's going. But I will tell you one thing but the last time the market crashed, and I've been through a couple different things since 1998 when I got my license, the tech boom, the tech bust, 9/11, the Great Recession, and now this, rents never went down. So if you go in on a fixed interest rate loan, I'm seeing 2.5, 2.8%, really incredibly low interest rates like we've never seen before. If you go in now and you lock in a rate that's not adjustable, and you got that flat rate, and you've got a property that you can cash flow on, why not? That's the biggest thing, is why not? Consider that now. Fix your credit, start saving money, get a spreadsheet together for your budget. There's no place to travel really right now, so you've got all those airline miles, maybe pay down a credit card with them. Think about the creative ways to get in a position to buy now, and I recommend buy and hold.
Awesome advice. And I hope you took notes again. This is about taking notes. These webinars, if you're going to spend 20, 30, 45 minutes with some people that know their game and Nick does, and Kim does, and I believe I do too. So hopefully you guys write down your notes and really start asking some questions. Don't be afraid. I'm an interactive guy. I love to have webinars where we interact. This is a panel interview, but in most cases we do the meetings where everybody can put on there, but we wanted to make sure that you got the best content with no distraction. So Kim, let me ask you something. A lot of people start thinking about investing a lot of times once they've kind of already gone through their building of their life, their career, their family. They get those priorities out of the way. What would you suggest to someone right now, especially in that money managed side? Maybe they've been able to do it through their 401k a little bit, through an IRA, maybe through a life retirement plan. But what are some suggestions for someone that really just hasn't started and may be in those 45, 50-year-old, age groups?
I think it's time to get started. I don't think there's, if yesterday was the best time to start, then probably the next best time is today, right? There's probably 15 different Chinese proverbs about planting trees and when to do it, right? Yeah, absolutely, get going on it. But I think also today, and I think it's powerful to have, and it's not often actually, not too often do I get a chance to be on a panel with a real estate expert like Nick, and then myself and yourself, like people who have different expertise, kind of the same industry, but really we're kind of, if it was a house, right, we'd be in different bedrooms or different floors of the same house. And I think the key here is to kind of redefine maybe the approach. They used to say you needed $1 million, or a baby boomer needs $1 million to retire so they can live off the interest. And they would oftentimes, when they came up with those ideas, they were confident in somebody getting 7% conservatively off of investing, which today it's just not the case. So I think retirement is not about a pile of money anymore. Perhaps it never was, but it's about cash flow. So if you can have a portfolio, one way, it would take a while to just save, and build up an asset in the market that you can draw income off. But you could take advantage of OPM, other people's money, like Nick mentioned. Maybe it's real estate, maybe it could be a business. It could be but you need cash flow, because bottom line is every $400 that you can make on a monthly basis without you having to work is the equivalent of having saved $100,000. So how fast can you save up $100,000? If you've worked 20 years already and you got 50,000 or you got 100,000, well, you have another 20 years, or do you need to start figuring out how to create cash flow? And I think that's how we have to redefine it for millennials, Gen Xers. A lot of people are playing catch up. It could be a gig, a business. There's so much opportunity, problems to solve, but it could also very well be real estate in conjunction with how you work all the other components to make sure you're solid in case you end up having to go to plan B and be more of a buy and hold in real estate for income versus the flip, or maybe you want to be ready for the flip. And if you're solid all around, you're going to be in the driver's seat when the time comes to make a decision. It won't be panic management, so.
Awesome advice, guys. And let me, that little nugget that you just said, I didn't get a chance to write it down quick enough. What was the whole 100,000 for?
Yeah, so basically, it's just a math problem. But if you had $100,000 and you got 5% on that, and you took that interest as income, it would result to $416 a month, I believe. So round it down to 400. So bottom line is, if you had a rental property and you made $400 from that, that'd be the equivalent of having saved $100,000 in a retirement plan. If however if you started a business, again, multiple streams of income. If you have the money already saved up, there's people on here maybe that are already they have assets and they're looking which to put where and what to do with it. Well, then you need to figure out which part could generate income in maybe real estate, which part needs to be a stock market related type scenario. But then there's good and bad ways to do it there, right? I think the best thing you can do, honestly, and I'm a big fan, John, of the book. but read the book, because it'll give you, it's not going to make you a PhD in money, but it'll at least allow you to not feel like a sucker more often. And it'll give you the confidence to work with a professional, maybe like myself or like John or like Nick, so that you know the right questions to ask, right? And then keep learning. That's the first step actually in the book. Step one is to get a financial education, which tonight's part of. So I'm proud to be a part of this this panel tonight for that reason.
Awesome, awesome. And we did get a venturous attendee. Thank you so much, Veronica, for your question. And it goes to Kim. So in today's market, what norm for an emergency fund would you say? Taking into account COVID and not having to dig into our investment due to tax implications. So I'm assuming.
What amount is a good amount for an emergency fund?
Yeah, it says today's market, what is the norm for an emergency fund mean you recommend?
Okay, so there's a normal recommendation, and then there's what people normally have. I mean, I think regardless of any market, I think you can run with the rules of thumb. You know, you probably heard it, 3 to 6 months, some say 12, right? I mean, I think it's a little bit of a, if you feel, you know, a lot of money and having it properly managed is also managing your psychological experience, right? It's not fun to get into real estate and be stressed all the time. It's not fun to be in the market and be stressed and constant buyer's remorse and all that stuff. So I think one of the things you should consider is like, yeah, okay, if things are happening, job is good, everything's looking solid, income's there, you could probably, if you had 6 months of money saved up for emergencies and you wanted to make a purchase, maybe you could do it and then build it back up. But at this time, I mean, I think, actually Steve Siebold, the co-author of that, the How Money Works book, I caught him on a recent interview, and now is the time, you know, you want to do, like Nick said, maybe straighten up your credit, but don't pay them all the way off. Keep some of that money on hand, in hand, because if things, you know, funding does tighten up, I mean, this is unprecedented stuff, you know, so now is not the time to go light on the emergency fund, but it is the right time to start discussions and plan on what to do once you have more certainty in what lies ahead. So I would say 6 months probably, but it kind of depends on what your other assets look like. I think the best thing to do is get together with whoever you're working with as far as an advisor. I'm happy to help, no obligation at all, no charge, just to visit about kind of where everything is at. Because I don't think any of us on this call here believe in a transactional recommendation as much as a planning kind of recommendation.
Definitely. Well, hey, thank you so much, Veronica, for that great question. And look, we promised you 45 minutes, so I want to be courteous to everybody, the panelists, the attendees, and everybody. So look, we are going to have a slot in the Money Mondays. I know Nick has provided some opportunities to be able to work together. We're excited that How Money Works, and I see 11 of you still attending. So I will get this book out to you, okay? And we'll email for the address and all that stuff. Any other final thoughts from either of you? Maybe 20 seconds.
This is Nick. I will go ahead and just say that if you have any questions about real estate, you know, your Exit Realty agent is there for you. If anybody needs kind of a bird's eye view of financing, of overall strategy, or, you know, future ideas for real estate, feel free to contact me. I've got a lot of videos on YouTube. Connect with me on social media. I'm at the same address or handle everywhere. It's at Nick Libert, NICKLIB as in boy, ERT.
Awesome. And it's in the chat, guys, as well. And you, 20 seconds, Kim.
I would say now's the time to get our ducks in a row, right? I mean, more millionaires were made out of every crisis in the past. That's the only way to take advantage of these times is to be really solid yourself and plan. I think it's, you know, it just, you pay pounds, what is it? Pounds in regret if you don't plan today. And I think it's all about educating yourself and getting teamed up with the right advice. And I would be honored to be a part of that team for you. And we've been in partnership with Nick and John in these types of situations for a long time. So it's a pleasure. So get in touch.
Awesome. And I'll leave you guys with this. Look, if you go to my Facebook page, and you read kind of the moniker that I have right underneath my beautiful girls and my family, it says, if you want to fly like an eagle, you cannot run with chickens. So don't be afraid right now. Take the time to learn, take the time to maybe sit down with Kim, sit down with Nick, sit down with myself. All right, reach out, read this book. All right, but don't be a chicken expecting to fly like an eagle. So I'll leave you guys with that. Thank you so much, Nick. Thank you so much, Kim. Exciting times. Look, be energetic, be focused, get on track, and get your plan done. So let's roll. Have a great one, guys. Have a good night.
Good night.
Bye, guys.